The State Department is defending Secretary Rex Tillerson following criticism from his own employees. Some officials are upset about Tillerson's decision to leave Afghanistan, Iraq, and Burma off a list of countries using child soldiers. All were included in a lineup of 11 countries unanimously blacklisted by department bureaus. The decision prompted State Department officials to take the unusual step of sending an unsigned dissent memo accusing Tillerson of violating U.S. law and compromising American credibility. CBS News State Department reporter Kylie Atwood joins us now from Washington to talk a little bit about this. Okay, Kylie, this memo comes out. What exactly does the memo reveal?
So this is a memo that was drafted by State Department employees, which is essentially saying that they are frustrated and worried because Secretary Tillerson went against the recommendation that was made by 6 different bureaus at the State Department to add Myanmar, Iraq, and Afghanistan to the list of countries that uses and recruits child soldiers. So that basically he went against what the whole department was unanimously saying that he should do. And so they are frustrated and worried about the precedent that that sets with the secretary making his own legal determination.
Okay, but what is the law that Tillerson is accused of violating?
Exactly. So in 2008, Congress signed a law which essentially is to protect child soldiers, to prevent child soldiers. And so when they signed that law, they said that the State Department on a yearly basis has to provide a list of the countries that either use or recruit child soldiers. Now, that list came out earlier this year from the State Department, and it did not include Myanmar, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Now, in the past, obviously, Iraq and Afghanistan have been on that list. And so what a president has to do in order to provide military support to that country is to use waivers. And so we have seen President Obama do that in many situations in Afghanistan and Iraq. But in this case, the department didn't want to do that. They wanted to go about it in a different way, which the State Department employees are saying is going against the law.
So then, according to the officials who wrote this dissent memo, what is the fallout from this? What is the concern when it comes to violating this law?
Basically, what they're saying is that this not only is creating a bad precedent, allowing the secretary to make his own personal determination, but they're also saying that this could greenlight other countries who are not at this time using child soldiers to see a moment where they could start using them.
Right.
And the State Department is pushing back. Yesterday they said that Secretary Tillerson looked at all of the facts and made this determination. And Secretary Tillerson's director of policy planning wrote back to these State Department employees, and he said that there's a need to create incentives for countries that are already trying to push back against the use of child soldiers currently. So if you look at Myanmar, Brian Hook, who's one of Tillerson's staffers who made this decision, he pointed out that in 2016, there were only 2 verified cases of child soldiers in the country. And obviously, that's not a high number. So, in comparison to some other countries where they have hundreds of thousands of child soldiers, they took Myanmar off the list to create an incentive for them to keep working on this. Now, still, that goes against the law, which says that even one child soldier should maintain that country on the list.
That is very interesting. I'm glad that you brought up Myanmar, because I want to ask you about something else. Earlier today, Kylie, the Secretary of State was talking about the Burmese Rohingya Muslims and what is happening to them there. And he spoke earlier this week about them, and he stopped short of calling this ethnic cleansing, but he did today. He called it ethnic cleansing. Tell me, what is the significance of that label?
Right. So this is the first time that the State Department has come out, as you said, and called this violence against the Rohingya in the Rakhine state of Myanmar ethnic cleansing. And this does not compel the U.S. to do anything new, right? They don't have to take any new legal action. But what this does do, State Department employees say, is it basically puts a new sense of urgency behind this. There's a real sense that the State Department has been providing support for the Rohingya who are fleeing the Rakhine state in massive numbers. But this is a declaration that the U.S. is paying attention. Secretary Tillerson was just in Myanmar last week. He met with the state councilor and the head of the military forces in the country. And so this is the U.S. saying that they are behind trying to stop this violence and also create reconciliation efforts for those who fled to come home, and also try and put a finger on who is responsible and hold them accountable.
Is it particularly significant that it's coming from the Trump administration?
It is, because this is an administration that has not paid attention to human rights very closely or put a very high emphasis on pushing for human rights in places where the president or Secretary Tillerson have traveled. I mean, we just saw President Trump visiting the Philippines last week, and he did not come out and publicly condemn Duterte's violence in his war on drugs. And that was something that, you know, the whole world was watching for the U.S. to step up. Now they are stepping up in this case in Myanmar, but they're not yet calling this a genocide. And so we'll have to keep an eye on, you know, legally in international law if the U.S. pushes for this to be declared a situation of a genocide.
Yes, indeed. Kylie Atwood, thank you so much.
Thanks, Anne Marie.